Hi everyone, my name's Costa, and I'm part of the UK sales engineering team over at Sophos. Today, I've been asked to talk to you about the threats, trends, and recent challenges we at Sophos have been seeing organizations experience over what's been quite a tumultuous 2020. But to also shed some insight as to what Sophos has been doing to try and help these organizations' lives just a little bit easier. Now, as I go through this with you, please don't forget to send us your questions via the live chat, and we'll do our very best to answer them for you. Now, in an attempt to make this a little bit more exciting for you, we're giving you the opportunity to win a Maverick Mini drone. I'll be discussing something in this presentation which I will then be asking a question about at the end. If you think you know the answer, then head over to the Sophos stand to request the link and give us your answer. Now, of course, we couldn't really discuss recent challenges faced this year without, of course, addressing COVID-19. We know this has been a tough time for many, so I just wanted to express my sympathies to anyone who may have been more seriously affected by this global pandemic. Now, of course, I expect you're going to hear quite a lot about coronavirus today, so I'll try and get to the point. This has been a challenging time for us all, and has really been a big change of pace for a lot of us too. Working from home has definitely got its perks, but it's also definitely come with its downfalls for us too. Some of us might have been a little bit more prepared for this. On the other hand, many were not, and so there was quite a steep learning curve to adapt to working from home. And to be honest, I think it's fair to say we've all had our fill of Zoom quizzes, Zoom parties, etc. to last us a lifetime. But on a more serious note, it wasn't just the people working from home that had to adapt. Organizations were pretty much forced to adapt to the change and to do so overnight. Laptops, webcams, keyboards, mice, monitors, you name it, they were selling out everywhere. And organizations were buying things in bulk to try and deal with the mass exodus from the office. And when they weren't available, staff were being told to use their own devices. Firewall and VPN solutions were being put in overnight, and organizations were rapidly investing time and money into making organizations fit for purpose to support the new working from home arrangements. Things that would normally take weeks, months, maybe even years to plan and implement, well, they were taking place overnight. And so, of course, all this change wasn't just taking place to change a behavior for supporting working from home. For many, this was actually a kick in the right direction for organizations, and maybe it's one that they wanted to start taking the reins of a true digital transformation of their workplace. And of course, it didn't just stop at the physical hardware, did it? The true shift to the cloud arrived, not by means of companies dipping their toes anymore, but instead, organizations were diving in headfirst to all things cloud. They were embracing that technology that they've even maybe feared before. And with good reason. Virtual desktops in the cloud, full infrastructure platforms in the cloud, applications, historically on-prem systems and data, all took strides very quickly into the cloud. And compared to buying and implementing the physical infrastructure to host at their data centers or offices, the cost to get these things up and running was quite inconsequential. Well, for now at least. But digital transformation is a good thing, right? Well, of course it is. Agile and flexible working, working from home, the potential for a better work-life balance, and of course, the need to commute less and pollute less. All of that's a good thing, right? Well, such massive change doesn't normally happen overnight, and that's because it normally requires planning, and a lot of it. And when it comes to digital transformation, well, security should very much be at the forefront of such planning. And because so much of this transformation this year took place so quickly, some things that would have normally been considered, well, maybe they've been considered a little bit less. Now, we only have to consider the devices that were quickly purchased and deployed. Many of these might not have been subject to the usual organization onboarding process. Many devices were potentially shipped directly to users' homes. Maybe there was loads of these devices that ended up being unmanaged or even unaccounted for, and even worse, potentially unsecured. Now, of course, I work for Sophos. I'm going to see security as a major requirement on all of these devices, but what about things like patching of OSs and vulnerable applications? What about user access rights? How many took the decision to give a user admin rights on a device just to make their life a little bit easier for them to download and install the software they need when working from home? What about BYOD devices? Was it a case that at this point, some of them were just being given access to software to access corporate data? Was there potential for devices that were maybe already compromised? And then we're actually maybe establishing access via these compromised devices to our corporate network, either via RDP or some other free remote access tool. And of course, similar can be said about the cloud implementation. The rapid uptake of public cloud services, it means that misconfigurations can be very easy to miss. Or when something is in the public cloud, well, it's kind of like a honeypot, right? Cyber criminals are going to take a stab at somebody's password. They're going to try and gain attempt to a vulnerability that you've left open, maybe an open port or similar. And to be fair, that kind of leads us nicely into what we at Sophos and Sophos Labs have been seeing during this time. And of course, well, the first thing is email attacks galore, right? Knowing that so many people are now working from home and they're potentially doing so without the protection of their corporate firewall or web filtering solutions, or maybe without even a colleague just to tap on the shoulder to ask for a second opinion. Cyber criminals are just flooding people's inboxes with corona and other related phishing attacks. And of course, they were doing so in the hopes that because these guys were working from home, maybe our guards were down. And of course, if our guards are down and we're concerned about other things such as a global pandemic, maybe this is the time when we're most vulnerable or susceptible to a phishing email. And of course, it wasn't just the emails that were being sent out. Corona-related domains continue still to be spun up at a crazy rate in the hope of taking advantage of some of the suggestions made in the public eye. This has been a relentless attack on your average user. They're left exposed, they're working from home, they're not sure where the next spoofed domain, phishing email, or maybe even tin hat theory might be coming from next. And of course, no cyber criminal could truly rest until making sure that ransomware was delivered through the door in the name of the coronavirus. You would think that during this global pandemic that of all things, these guys would take their foot off the gas just a tiny bit, but no, far from it. Emotep, RaiUK and others, they've all been making their returns and they haven't exactly been quiet about it either. But don't take just my word, of course, for it, or even Sophos's word, of course. In the US, ransomware was running so wild in the healthcare industry, it got to the point where a national bulletin had to be issued by the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. And this comes at a time where performing ransomware against a healthcare service might actually lead to true costs of lives. It was bad enough with WannaCry's spray and pray approach, which kind of accidentally affected the NHS, but to be targeting healthcare systems during a true global pandemic, well, that's far beyond reason. And of course, our very own NTSE in this country, they've been issuing bulletins non-stop throughout this time, but I thought it was of particular interest to highlight the one that was targeted with relation to the education sector. Ransomware was being targeted to these guys in education, and it was just as everybody was coming back too. So around the August, September time, we were seeing floods of ransomware try and take place in schools, colleges, universities, and all when things were just trying to go back to some kind of normality. Now, of course, cyber attacks then haven't just carried on during this time, they've substantially increased. Sophos this year recently released a paper titled The State of Ransomware 2020. And I thought it'd just be useful to pull out one extract from that to highlight some key findings with how ransomware gets into organizations. Now, although there was no single main attack vector, look at the top 4 items and look at the ones that we've highlighted in red. Are they not all things that we've just discussed as potential issues due to the trends that we're seeing take place this year? 29% of these attacks got into an organization by means of a malicious link, and 16% by means of a malicious email attachment. I'll repeat that. 29% of ransomware attacks got into an organization by means of a malicious link, and 16% being from malicious email attachments. Now, think of how many of these could have potentially have been stopped with the correct layers of defense in the office or indeed at home in the first place. I hope that's just some food for thought. Now, while all this has been going on, and despite our own workforce at Sophos being affected by the global pandemic, we haven't stood still in the fight. Quite the opposite, in fact. Towards the beginning of the year, our chief scientist, Joshua Sachs, well, he actually put out a call to take a stand against COVID-19 related cyber threats. And before he knew it, it turned into a large-scale operation with more than 3,000 volunteers who are all contributing their findings and their efforts in a bid to help any and everyone fight the good fight, as it were. Be sure to check those guys out, by the way, at the cyberthreatcoalition.org. Now, elsewhere, whilst the world is continuing to adapt to change, Sophos has continued to evolve its security offerings to make sure we continue giving our customers the best possible protection. And we've done this by focusing on three key drivers here for improvement as part of our strategy. Now, if we start from left to right, we see that on the left, we want to continue being predictive by leveraging AI to stay ahead. In the middle, number two, we want to continue to be adaptive. Our continuous improvement model allows us to automatically improve our protection based on the real-time analysis of threats. And thirdly, but of course not lastly for us, is that we want everything to be synchronized. Our synchronized security system allows us to keep on sharing threat intelligence between our products, and that means that we get better automation of protection and ultimately more visibility. Now, I couldn't talk about the Sophos strategy without here mentioning Sophos Central. Sophos Central is our cloud management platform for so many great products. And talking about some of the things that we've seen recently, it might be all too obvious to say it, but the best way to deal with all of these types of threats is to try and protect against them in the first place. Whether that's our users' endpoints, mobiles, emails, the corporate network, servers, or even the public cloud, Sophos has got them all covered from our single pane of glass that is Sophos Central. And by the way, if you want to know more about our public cloud security offering, Cloud Optics, please be sure to check out my colleague Richard Beckett's session on securing the cloud. Otherwise, guys, if you've got any questions about anything I've discussed so far, or that is currently on the screen, please don't forget to use the chat. Now, our aim has always been to provide the best security we can by means of protection, visibility, and expertise. And so for those who are maybe not familiar with our offerings here at Sophos, our core protection comes in three main flavors, starting from the right this time. Protection comes from our best-of-breed InterceptX protection product. It features the finest of multi-layered defense techniques against active adversaries on your endpoints. And this has been seeing a number of areas of protection added recently during this pandemic too. Visibility-wise, well, that comes from bolstering our InterceptX product with our endpoint detection and response offering, InterceptX with EDR. For those looking to ask any question about their environment regarding threats or even non-related things, our EDR solution is ready to answer. Version 3 of our EDR officially went live earlier this year, and actually it's continued to see improvements during the pandemic too, but a little bit more on that shortly. And most importantly, our managed threat response service. These guys have continued to grow and see great success in protecting our customers. This team of cybersecurity specialists has gone from strength to strength and have been able to thwart many a cyber criminal's efforts to cause damage in our customers' environments. This service offering is made up of real human beings. They operate on a 24/7, 365 days of the year system, and they are proactively conducting threat hunting against customers' environments. They're looking for indicators of attack, indicators of compromise, and dealing with them on behalf of the customer. The great thing about all of these offerings is something that they all have in common, and it's pretty simple. The protected machines don't need to be in the office, behind a corporate firewall, or similar to benefit from our protection. Our well-established cloud security platform, Sophos Central, makes it so easy to secure and manage these devices from anywhere in the world. The time we have today obviously doesn't allow us to talk through each offering in too much depth, but I'd like to just give you a little bit more insight on our EDR tech and the MTR team too. Now, we talked about having protection, visibility, and expertise, but in a real-world instance, what actually does this look like? Well, let's just take a look at a very simple detection in my demo environment. Here we've got an example of a zero-day threat being downloaded from Edge, and we can see that our ransomware protection engine, CryptoGuard, has kicked in and saved the day. So right away, we've got the protection element nailed here. The InterceptX product has kept us safe, and it's even given us this nice root cause analysis for us to understand exactly what took place. But what does EDR bring to the table in this instance where there has been protection already? Well, from the same screen that we've got our useful breakdown of what happened, EDR firstly gives us the option to grab a full forensic snapshot of the machine. We could fully isolate the machine on the network so it can't communicate with anything other than Sophos Central. We can actually pick on files and submit them directly to Sophos Labs for analysis. And even better, to further aid you in making a decision about these types of files, EDR can simply show you where else that file exists in your environment. And if you don't like where it's been found, well, you can clean and block that file throughout your whole environment from a single click. And it doesn't matter where it's found, what it's called. If it's the same SHA-256 identifier, we'll find it, we'll clean it, we'll remove it, and it will never be able to exist in your environment again. So to summarize, InterceptX with EDR has given us protection against the ransomware, visibility into the rest of our estate for the identified IOC, and then it's given the ability to us to respond like an expert by isolating the machines, creating full forensic snapshots, and of course, blocking files from existing in our environment. Now, it gets a bit better than that, of course, because EDR comes with two other very powerful engines, Live Discover and Live Response. Now, Live Discover truly gives us the power to ask machines anything, even if that's got nothing to do with threat hunting, and it's simply an IT operational query. The great thing about it, as the name suggests, is that it's live. So there's no relying on historic data here that's maybe somewhere in the cloud. You get the most up-to-date answers to your questions when you ask them directly from the machines themselves. So whether you're looking for potential security holes, such as maybe network ports that are open or connected, or whether you just want to see a list of all parent and child processes running on a machine and all the interactions that they've had on that system, Live Discover gives you the ability to get that visibility. And if you see something you don't like, or if you see something that needs to be remediated, jump directly onto that machine through Sophos Central using Live Response and take action against whatever it is that you found. And we do this by means, as you can see on the screen there, a powerful command line interface, which gives us system privilege access to the back end of the machine. And you require multi-factor authentication enabled for this. And of course, it's audited every time you establish a connection. So take action against whatever it is that you need to, deploy software, remove files, kill processes, whatever that might need to be, you can do all of that using Live Response. Now, time doesn't allow me to live demo our EDR solution to you today, so I've cheated a bit and I've grabbed the short marketing version of our EDR solution in action. So just going back to the ability to ask our machines anything with Live Discover, we can use this for IT operations tasks such as finding out what software is deployed in our environment, why are machines running slow, which machines have vulnerabilities because of old software or missing patches, where dodgy browser extensions are installed, or even who has remote connectivity by means of shares or RDP sessions currently running on their devices. The way this is done is simple yet effective. Live Discover leverages a flexible SQL query engine that comes with over 80 pre-canned queries out of the box, all of which are easily customizable to your requirements, or you can always create your own. If you find something out of place or a security hole, it's super quick and easy just to jump into Live Response to take action. Take RDP as an example. Let's say you find some machines with it enabled that shouldn't be. Just jump over to that machine with Live Response, kill the RDP process running, and put the required registry key amendment in place to ensure that RDP is disabled. Once you're done, rerun your query for due diligence, confirm all is as it should be, and you're done. It really is that simple. And to help our customers get the most out of the EDR solution, we've also completely refreshed our community forums, and our specialists are actually posting powerful and useful queries that you can use in your environments too. And it's not just our specialists that are posting there either. Customers and people who are looking for help writing useful queries, they're posting and seeing suggestions from people all over the world. So I really recommend that you go in and take a look at our community forums. Now, when it comes to true threat hunting of an active adversary, using the EDR toolset can really help you to understand what took place and whether or not an attacker was even able to get into your environment. If they did, what tools they used and what techniques they used, what they were maybe able to affect, and whether or not they maybe left a back door of persistence open for themselves. This is the kind of information that will, of course, help determine a proper course to help neutralize the attack, either by means of device isolation or that live response tool set that we just talked about. And again, to reiterate, your endpoints can be anywhere in the world for this. So that nicely reflects our current change of working conditions this year. If that wasn't good enough, having identified such a swift uptake of cloud platforms, we've now decided to throw in a powerful set of our cloud optics capabilities into our server intercept X with EDR licensing. So that's right, if you've got a server EDR license for free, you can now detect insecure cloud deployments, suspicious access events, and unusual network traffic in your cloud environments. Guided security remediation and configuration guardrails are there to help you stop changes in your cloud environments that would impact your security posture. And the best thing about it, okay, maybe not as good as it being free, but there's no agent that's required or no installation that's required to get this visibility into your cloud infrastructure. All Sophos needs is read-only access to your cloud accounts, and we can give you all of these great security and visibility overviews. It's that simple. Now, I appreciate that EDR solutions do take time and a level of cybersecurity skills to get the most out of them. And right now, it's not something that every organization actually has. And to be honest, it's not something that they should be ashamed of either. Cybersecurity skill sets are lacking worldwide. Those that do have the skills are often swamped with other things like doing the basics of an IT role, BAU, project delivery, and adapting to a global pandemic for their workforce. So although EDR products can give you all of the data in the world, if you don't have the time or skills to apply the context to the data, it can very quickly become redundant. And so it's no wonder then that MDR services are on the rise. Gartner, in fact, has stated that they predict by 2025 that up to 50% of organizations will all be using an MDR service. And of course, why wouldn't you? Consider what it would take for you to set up your own team to offer 24/7, 365 threat hunting. It's no small undertaking. MDR services offer 24/7 threat hunting, investigation, and incident response, all delivered as a managed service. And these services not only help deal with security incidents, but of course they work to reduce the likelihood of an incident happening in the first place. So of course, this is why we too have our managed threat response service. We start with the best protection possible on the environment, and then we have real human analysts overlaid who do real human-led threat hunting. A lot of other similar services really heavily rely on automation, whereas our MTR team, although they are using machine intelligence, they actually put the humans at the heart of every investigation and threat hunt, and even the actions that they take to respond. So the MTR team doesn't just focus on detections. They proactively investigate suspicious activity, behaviors, the techniques and processes that attackers use to establish footholds in your environments. And because these are human-led investigations, it means that real-world experience and real-world scenarios can all be factored in during these investigations for context. And if the MTR team identify a new attack surface in one environment, well, you'll be sure that they'll be looking for it in everybody else's too. And for me, I think the most important part of this is that our MTR team doesn't just stop at the investigation and let you know what they've found. They really do truly take targeted actions to ensure that all threats have been completely neutralized. Now, a good example of this recently, of the MTR team in action, is one that we actually shared on the Sophos News website. In this particular case, a customer got in touch with the MTR team because they were concerned because somebody they'd been working with was actively hit by ransomware and currently under attack. So naturally, they were worried that they too were either under attack or were going to be attacked. Now, being an existing MTR customer, it didn't stop the team from starting an investigation immediately. And thankfully, no evidence of an active adversary or ransomware was found. But regardless, the Sophos team decided to continue investigating just in case anything else did crop up. And funny enough, they actually found an old banking Trojan. Now, between the MTR team and Sophos Labs, in-depth analysis was done, new detections were created, and within just a short period of time, the whole incident had been investigated and completely remediated. Now, of course, there's plenty of other examples where this has happened during the pandemic. Sophos and the MTR team have, of course, not sat still. We've adapted, we've evolved, and we keep on providing the best level of protection, visibility, and expertise possible. Now, At this point, again, it's worth highlighting that even though everybody is working from home, this isn't a barrier for the MTR team to deliver class-leading threat hunting and response actions. Where other SOC-esque offerings may ingest logs from maybe SIEM solutions or on-site appliances to investigate, the MTR team do all of this using the Sophos agent installed on each and every endpoint in your environment. Now, there's just one last thing that I want to talk to you about today, and that's our latest evolution in the fight against cybercrime. A few weeks ago, we officially went live with our Sophos Rapid Response Service, and this offering has now been made available to anyone, non-Sophos customers included. And simply put, the Sophos Rapid Response Service is designed to help any organization that's currently under attack benefit from our MTR expertise. Rapid Response offers a fixed-fee remote incident response service that responds to active cybersecurity incidents throughout its entire 45-day term of engagement. And actually, it couldn't be more simple to get the team into action. All incident response is done remotely. That's right, service triaging, threat hunting, and neutralizing of the threats is all taking place remotely. The team, like MTR, are of course available 24/7. Once the threat has been contained, the organization is then transitioned into the MTR service as part of the 45-day wrap. So that means if the environment comes under attack again within that 45-day period, the MTR team will handle it as part of the service. Now, of course, this is super exciting for us, and we've actually already seen a great uptake of this service, even when it was in pilot. So guys, in conclusion, if you want to have the best protection for your environment, start with InterceptX. If you want unparalleled visibility for your environment, add EDR. If you want to be assured that your environment's going to be in the best hands with the most expertise, take a look at our MTR service offering. And more importantly, if you're under attack and you need assistance from a team specializing in dealing with cyber threats, get in touch with Sophos and get the rapid response team engaged. So guys, I hope this has been a useful update into the world of threats from the eyes of somebody who works at Sophos. And I hope I've given you all a good understanding as to what we can do to help you in these trying times too. As ever, if there's anything that you've seen today that you want to know more about, please pop it in the chat. Speak to your local Sophos rep for more information, or go to our website, sophos.com, where you can even take out a free trial. Now, before I leave you, let's get back to the real reason why you've all stayed on until the end. This is your chance to win a Maverick mini drone from Sophos. All you need to do is answer the question on screen. What percentage of ransomware attacks got into an organization by means of a malicious email attachment? I'll repeat that question. What percentage of ransomware attacks got into an organization by means of a malicious email attachment? And I won't be mean, I'll give you a hint. It's between 10 and 30%. If you think you know what the answer is, pop over to the Sophos stand, request the link, and provide your answer. And that's all from me, guys. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Take care.